The 2017 Time Person of the Year is the Silence Breakers. They make up the people, mostly women, who've come forward with stories of being sexually harassed or assaulted in the workplace. Over the past 2 months, dozens of powerful men have been accused of harassment, and it has created a national conversation. But as we learned last month from our panel of 5 female leaders in their respective fields, there's still some confusion about when a line has been crossed.
I didn't know if that was harassment, and I look back on it now, and yes, it would be considered sexual harassment.
I didn't know that it was wrong. I was in a position where I had to just trust this man.
For so many girls, there is a culture of silence around this because they don't know what qualifies.
With us now is Allison West, an employment attorney and human resources specialist. She travels all around the country to conduct workplace harassment training, including here at CBS. Allison, good morning. We're still talking about that training session. You taught us a lot of lessons that I think people really didn't know. So start us off, because people do seem very confused in this climate. What are the definitions of workplace harassment?
So there's 2 different kinds of harassment. One we call hostile work environment. So that would be when conduct is unwelcome, it's because of a protected characteristic, severe or pervasive, and impacts someone's work. The other is quid pro quo, right? Which is what we know, Roger Ailes, the allegations, right? That
You do something for me, I do something for you.
That's right. You give me the sex that I want, and in exchange I'll either give you something or I'll take it away. So it can be a punishment as well.
So let's break down hostile environment, because I think that's the one that applies to many people.
That's right.
First, it has to be unwelcome.
That's right. So unwelcome or offensive, some jurisdictions will say that. So meaning we look at it from the reasonable person standard. So not everything rises to the level of being unwelcome. But
2,
that's where we
it has to be due to a protected characteristic, including race, gender, sex, age, because of that.
Yeah, because of that. So national origin, there's a variety. Every state has different characteristics as well. But yes, it has to be because of that.
Severe or pervasive.
Let me just add one thing, though.
Yeah.
Or of a sexual nature, if it's sexual harassment. Yeah.
Severe or pervasive.
That's right. So it has to be really bad or ongoing. So sometimes one thing could be significant enough or severe enough to violate the law.
Now, many company policies, though, are much tougher than this, right? One instance could be means for dismissal, right?
That's exactly right. So really no good employer in our country is going to have the legal definition in their policy, because why would you want the conduct to be severe or pervasive, right?
Yeah.
So you come to me and you say someone touched me, and I'm like, oh, well, just tell them to do it more, so then you can complain. I mean, you want to know the first time.
Right. I think that was interesting to me. Our company policies are stronger than proving it before the law. Our companies are trying to protect us. They don't want severe or pervasive. So if I were to go to management and say, this person tried to kiss me, or this person exposed himself to me, what would that mean?
Well, obviously, exposing oneself is so significant and so severe, you know, that would be...
That's not a gray area.
Not a gray area. I mean, to me, as an employment lawyer, like, that's a termination, right? If proven, that's termination. A kiss could potentially also violate the policy, but under the law, there are very few attorneys that would take a case for one kiss.
Got it.
Just because it would not rise to the level typically of violating the law.
One of the things we've learned from these men in their past is that they'd settled agreements, right? Non-disclosure agreements with women and paid the money, and we're just now hearing about them. I think a lot of us feel mixed about these agreements, because on the one hand, a woman has a right to be protected and not to have to, talk about her ordeal. On the other hand, it doesn't really address what the man is being accused of.
Doesn't stop the behavior, because he can keep working.
Right.
That's right.
And some states are moving to ban these. How do you feel about this?
So my view is, I think it should always be up to what the complainant or the plaintiff and their lawyer think is best for them in that situation. I think a total ban would not be helpful completely, because what you just said, not everybody wants it aired. Maybe someone made a mistake, maybe someone used poor judgment or something and engaged in conduct that they regret later on. But by the same token, we have to be careful, because in the workplace, your HR department does not send out an email every Monday, this week's harassers. These are private, confidential matters. So even without a non-disclosure agreement in the workplace, it's not as though we have people talking about this, right? HR will do a prompt and thorough, as confidential as possible, an investigation. So
when does a complaint rise to the level of moving from the workplace to the courtroom? Because we've all been in a situation where you work with people that are just jerks.
Right.
And you just say, hey, knock it off. I don't think that that makes him a sexual harasser because he said something inappropriate to me, and I told him, leave me alone, and that's the end of it. So when does it go from the workplace to the courtroom? Because I think a lot of people are being labeled sexual predators, and really they're just jerks who are acting obnoxiously.
I think that's absolutely right. So look, the goal is to stop the bad behavior, make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right.
So exactly that. Hey, stop that behavior. Doesn't happen again. Everybody's good. If you go to HR or whoever in your company and they don't do anything to stop it, you know, in some states, like in California where I am, you have to go to either the EEOC or the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. You have to actually file a charge of harassment or discrimination or retaliation. But people will go see a lawyer. I mean, if you feel like the behavior hasn't stopped, then you're going to escalate it.
Something else we're hearing is that a lot of these accused say they were consensual, or they thought they were consensual relationships.
Right.
And that raises the question about
He said, she
relationships in the office. Are they frowned upon? Should they be just, you know, banned? How should we objectively approach this kind of situation? Because one could say, listen, you spend the majority of your day there. It's natural that you're going to meet a partner there as well.
Well, I think the biggest issue is that a supervisor should never have a relationship with a subordinate. I mean, that's just going to be frowned upon because it only ends two ways: marriage, termination, right? Because it's so delicate. But yes, people meet, and many companies allow people to date, but you can't have that supervisor-subordinate relationship.
So when someone says, but as someone who's a supervisor says, but it was a shared relationship, it was consensual, can that be that way?
But they have power, and it's very hard to separate the power. And the higher the power, right? If someone's here and the employee's here, it's very difficult to be able to really affirmatively give consent that way.
And by the way, that's not just your opinion. That happens to be CBS's policy as well, that
That's
you're not
right.
allowed to have a relationship,
So
or you have
many
to report it
companies.
to management if you are having a...
That's exactly right. And what they would do is they would separate the parties.
Do you worry about this having a backlash against women? I've heard some men say, what, now I can't ask you out, I can't give you a compliment, I can't touch you on the arm just to say you look great. Do you worry about that?
I do, to the extent that people are still confused, because not everything will be harassment.
Yes.
Right? So you touch someone on the shoulder to comfort them, like typically that's just never going to be harassment, right? You keep doing it, you do the oh baby baby on the shoulder, it changes it. But yeah, I think people have to be comfortable saying no to someone. But I think people also have to make sure, I want to touch your shoulder to comfort
That
you,
everyone's
that
comfortable
not
about
everybody
it.
likes it.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. I wish we had more time. I wish we could come back every day because there's still so many questions. You are very busy and demanding.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.